G'day and welcome back. Today I've got a Hacker brand radio. It's from the UK and I've shot this while I was on light duty, so this may be out of order. I might have put this in the bank on YouTube and wait for a suitable time to put it out. So it may be out of order with other things I've done. Anyway, I'm going to have a look at it now. Now if you're familiar with Hacker, you'll know that this looks very similar to all the Hackers of this sort of era. And looking at the top, it's got volume, tone, medium wave and long wave. It doesn't have FM, unfortunately, tuning, and it's got an auto button. I don't actually know what that does. I don't know what that does. Doesn't stick down. Can't auto frequency. I have no idea. It's a model RP73. There it is. And I believe this has got an integrated chip in here somewhere, so that'll be interesting to see. So just have a quick look at it. That's the top as we looked at. On the end here, it's got an antenna, a socket, which you would probably put a car antenna in there, I assume, and 9 volts DC goes in that socket there. The back is just plain. It's missing a grill here. I'm sure there'd be a grill there, so I might be able to print one up. And it's got wood grain ends, which are looking a bit ordinary, so I'll be able to redo those. So that's it. It's a battery set. It's transistor. So I'll take the back off and we'll have a look. All right, there it is. There's some output transformers down there, these caps. Assuming the radio works, we will replace these. Speaker, of course. There's some tuning IF cans, oscillator, and yeah, a couple up the back there. So not a lot in there. I don't know what transistors this has got in it. I don't know if they're germaniums. Germaniums, I mean. I can only see those three. Where's the rest of them? I wonder if that's what that might be the integrated circuit they were talking about. Graham, the radio cruncher, mentioned it on his channel. I told him I had one of these on his weekly show, and he said he thinks that one's got an IC in it, this radio. Maybe that's it. Maybe all the transistors are in there. If that has got all the other transistors in it and it isn't working, I don't know where I'll get another one. Looks like it's got provision for 2 batteries, and they'll be those P9, whatever they are. Hang on, probably here somewhere. PP9. Alright, so what I'll do is connect 9 volts to it from my shop power supply. Here's my 9 volt supply. Don't think that's going to short to anything. I'll stand it up. I'll clean this dial a little bit. I don't want to scratch it though. I'll put it on medium wave. It's turned off here. I'll put some power on and we want 9 volts. That'll do. So, fingers crossed. Ooh, makes a noise. Medium wave. Oh, that works.
In Western Australia, I decided to try and calculate it into today's money using your reference of a house. Barry Richards scored 1,500.
Lucky and have supportive wife and family, they know.
Yeah. Go get it, boy. 330, 180. 2 heroic, boy, 150. 4.
That dial doesn't seem right. It's in meters, which confuses me. I would think that station should be up here somewhere, but it works.
2.8 million, and divide that into the 340 runs he scored. He got paid $8,211 per run.
It's working perfectly. This is the external car antenna. If I clip my antenna onto that, I'll just leave the radio where it is.
Represented on the label of their own bottom. These be worth a fortune.
Nope, didn't do anything. So it's working well with that connected there, and if I push auto again, it just kills it again. So I don't know what that does. So what am I going to do? I will change all these capacitors. They're 60 odd years old, so let's get them out of there. They may still be okay, but I'll take them out anyway. I'll check the resistors. Once I've done all that, I'll check the alignment. I'm pretty sure it's not right. The RF certainly doesn't appear to be right. The cabinet needs a good clean up. Being as sharp as a tack, I only just noticed there's another socket there. I don't know where it's going. It might be for earphones, but I've never seen an earphone socket look like that. Alright, now how do you pull it apart? It would appear, looking at it, these screws go through into the side of the chassis there, and it's got clips on most of the leads, I think, so it should just come out there, I think. Oh, there's little spaces in there, I've got to be careful. There's the other one. I'll lose them. So this should come out somehow. What am I pushing on there? Alright. So there's a lead there, I think that's going in there. Check that out, okay. Another one there. Oops. Needs a bit of persuading, this one. Now black is on the bottom. That comes out in a nice little module, doesn't it? That's very nice, very cute. Track looks good on the bottom. That's nicely done as well. Now this auto switch has got me. Those ones lock in. That one just sits there. That one, yeah, I don't know. I don't know what it does. I'll get the schematic. We'll have a look. Here's the circuit diagram. Now transistor circuits give me the willies. I don't really know how to read them properly anyway. Now switch 2 is the auto switch. There's 1 and 3 for the other two. Switch 2, there's a load of switches along here. Switch 3, no, switch 2 there. Switch 3C, switch 2 A, no, that's B, switch 2 A. Oh, okay. So that connects, I guess that's the external antenna, isn't it? Cast socket, yeah, that'll be the external antenna. So it's connecting the external antenna. But it killed it when I tried it. Where's the other one? Here. Anyway, alright, well it's going, how do we get out of here? Oh, that's ground. So it's connecting that to the base of that transistor 1, so TR1. So that's what it should do. I don't think it's doing it. Here's the 3 switches here, so there's long wave there, the middle one's auto, and that'll be medium wave. So if I push that in, it's not holding. It's got to hold, it should hold. I'll see if I can get closer to that. I don't know how you would do it, I don't want to take it out. Although I suppose it could be unsoldered. I'll take this front panel off, might be able to see what's going on. Now it's got little bushes there. It's got to lock in. It must lock in. It has to. Ah, look. There's the switch there. And I think it's got, yeah, it should go in behind that clip. Yeah, it's lost its spring there, look. So if I was to push that and hold that down, oh no, something just broke off. Oh no, the little clip broke off. Oh well. Alright, whatever. I'll have to pull that out and see what's inside. Here's the switch. I've taken it off the board, and here's the problem area here. Here's where the little pin broke off, and it should look something like that. I thought I'd broken it, but it actually was broken before I got there. I just finished it off. So I need to put another pin in there. Perhaps a little metal one would be okay, like a bit of nail or something glued in. So I'll give it a bit of a clean. I'll take it out in the shed and see if I can drill a hole and put a metal pin in there. Yeah, a bit of a change of plans. I'm going to do it inside. Here's the bit that's missing. I have a 1/16 drill here, and I've got a nail here that's about a 1/16 as well. So this should be an interference fit in this drill. This isn't a very strong drill, so I'm not sure how it's going to go. Okay, got the nail started in the back there. If I can push, oh, that's a nice fit. Ooh. Ah! I've put a bit of grease on there, give it a half a chance of working. Well, it does work. Yeah. It does work. It's a bit tight. It's a bit like hard to push, so yeah, maybe I'll go and smooth that off and smooth the nail off. Put a bit more grease on it and we'll see if that works. I ran a very fine wet and dry paper in there on the nail and the little hook there, and it works fine. even without any grease it's working now. I also cleaned these two guys up here, so they'll be a bit smoother, but I'll put some grease on all of these and I'll cut the nail off on the back. So I'll pull that out a little bit. And I'll put a bit of super glue on it just to hold it. It probably doesn't need it. I'll put that on there. I think that's about right. Alright, let's try that then. Yeah, that looks good. Alright, so all I need to do is just trim this back off. It doesn't matter if it sticks out a bit actually. Yeah, it doesn't matter. I cut that nail off that was protruding. I just filed it and it's sticking out a little bit, but it's not going to affect the operation of the switch. So I'm not going to put that back yet. I'll start changing these capacitors while the board is still loose and I can get to some of the ones in here. So if I put the switch back, it makes it a bit harder. There isn't a lot in there to do, so I've ordered some new capacitors. I'll start replacing them. I'll start with this one here. I'll show you what I'm going to do and then I'll do the rest off camera. There's the two solder points I need to get to. I'll desolder this one. Don't think I can get on there with that one. That little desoldering station won't work on that big one there. There we go. Looks like it's been squashed, so I'll get rid of that. It should come out now. There it is. Now, get people saying, oh, you don't need to change that. I'll bet it's no good. This is 640 microfarads. And it's nearly 900, so it's out. It's no good. So it's going in the bin, as are the rest of them. Now that one was 640. The closest I've got is 470 or 1000. So I'm going to use a 470. I can use two 330s in parallel, and that would work too. But I'll try this first. I think it just blocks DC to the speaker. And just a matter of soldering that in. And that's that one done. I've made sure the polarity is correct as well. So I'm going to do the rest of them. The rest of them I've got close enough equivalents, like modern equivalents. So they're all right. That was the only one that was way out of equivalence. So I'll see how that goes. All right, I'll do the rest of them. I'll come back and we'll see if it still works. I've replaced all the other capacitors in there and they don't look too bad. They don't stick out too much. You know they're not the originals, but they don't sort of stick out. So that looks good. Here's the casualty list so far. Hopefully I don't have to change much else. I think I can put the switch back now. I've got to get that into position, which wasn't easy when I took it out. All right, well the switch goes in here. It's got wires going over it. It seems to be going in. Oh, there you go. That's not so bad. That was harder to get it out than it has been to put it back. Now, there's some of the pins coming through, so it just needs a bit of finessing. There it is. I've got the pins all through, and it's just a matter of just dropping some solder on all of those, and we can give it a try and see if it works.
Let's get some sun, baby, it's time to go. All we need to put on is the radio.
Right, I've got the switches in and they're all secured and working. I had to reconnect some wire. I disconnected here just so I could move the board away enough. The output transistors were undone, but I'll put it all back together and I'll put it back in the case and I'll just connect it up so we can try it. Alright, just connect the connectors up. This power one goes here. The speaker wire, black on the bottom. There we go. Now if I connect some power to it, it should work. Clip the leads on here. This is the power. I'll just put 9 volts on there, 9.1, that's good enough. I've connected my loop antenna to the external antenna. So I'll just put it around here. And I'll turn it on. Oh, sounds good.
Jackpot ethics. In a time of 22.27 dividends shortly, here at Toads at Grafton Race 8. 2 in a 10 Lucas Delatsch, 1290 and 340. 9 easiest.
Highly qualified note.
There's some thunderstorms around, so that's what the crashing is.
Contemporaries, or by historians.
You said that you were drawn to the story.
Oh, that doesn't sound good.
Because of the women. Without the women,
hang on.
Story. But having said that, you've avoided turning the women into myths. As you say,
that'll be the quiescent current.
Yes, I think.
Which I think probably this one here.
You know,
So
the
turn it up
women
again.
are ciphers. They don't emerge as distinct personalities. They didn't have much agency. They didn't have much power. And that makes it very difficult, particularly for historical novelists, to realise them as characters. But when you're writing about Henry's reign, well, he happened to be married to two of the most intelligent and combative women of his time.
Yeah, let's fix that.
With Catherine of Aragon, then with
So that'll need to be aligned properly.
Passenger car, SUV tires, by 3, and...
That's been following this. Emma, what's been sort of the latest developments today on day 2?
That's right. So day 2 in this next step, which is the public hearings. Yesterday on day 1, there was quite...
Yep, so that's working fine. It just needs those adjustments made now. And that'll be because I changed some of the capacitors. All right, let me set it up. I'll see if I can do some adjustments. Just before I do set that up, I want to test this antenna for the car, where you plug your car antenna into the socket. It didn't seem to work before. So I've got the radio on. There it is. And it's on the ferrite antenna. Now if I push this in, it should cut that ferrite antenna out and should put this one into the circuit. So here's my antenna lead.
Would be about
there it is.
5 million kilometres further away. And so because it's that bit closer, it's a little bit brighter in the sky. And that's all
So
added.
that's working now. So that's the ferrite antenna and that's the car antenna.
Stars.
Fantastic,
So
great.
brighter than the bright.
I'm set up to do the IF alignment. I have my generator on 470, which is the IF frequency. I have my digital meter here. I don't have an analog meter set up that'll go that low. So I'm only looking at about a volt or less. I've connected the voltmeter to point L on the board here. These are the 2 IF transformers I need to adjust for this. I'm going to do it this way. The manual says I should use a wobulator and crow and stuff. I'm not going to bother. So I just keep an eye on that meter. Let's see. It's getting worse, I think. So we can lift this up. Now there's the sound coming through. So 60, I think I thought 64 there, 65, leave it there. That's 1. That's going up 2. Now they don't actually call it a wobulator, it's a sweep generator, of course. $87. I think that's about it. Yeah, oh, we've got an 8 there. 88. Let's leave. Yeah, it's right on the verge. That'll do. That's good. And I can hear the sound now, the tone. Okay, that was all messed up with static before. So I think that's okay. The next thing to do is check the RF. I think I'm set up to do the RF alignment. I ended up getting out the beast signal generator. The other one only runs at 1000 Hertz and it's a bit painful through the video, so I can do 400 Hertz on this one. I've also dug out the old Western meter here. We'll use that to monitor the signal strength. It says here in the instructions it's advisable to align the receiver first for the car operation. So I connect an RF generator to the car aerial socket via a 100 puff capacitor and connect a voltmeter and crow to point L. I haven't put a crow on there. I don't think we need that to do the RF. It also says to check that the pointer lines up with the LF end of scale, that's the low frequency. You switch receiver to medium wave and auto. I have the switch on medium wave and I've got it on auto. I've got the 100 puff capacitor from the generator here and that's going into the board where the antenna goes in, for the external antenna, and this is connection L, that's going off to the meter. The next thing it says is to put the indicator at the low frequency end of the dial. Well, there's no indication of where to put it. I mean, there's not a dot or anything, it stops there. But the first thing I'll do is just check to see where it actually is at the moment. I have this on 600 And I'll put some noise on. That's on. Okay. I'll turn it up a bit and we'll try and see if I can tune it in. 600 should line up with this dot here. That's 500 meters. Oh, yes, it's going past it. So I'll just check that. There we go. So that's where it is now. It needs to come up here to that 500. Not to confuse you, but 500 meters on the scale here is equal to 600 kilocycles. So I'll take this off. Maybe there's a mark underneath that I didn't see. Well, there's nothing there. There's a is that hole? Surely not. It doesn't mention a hole in the instructions. Well, that's where it lines up. So that must be right. I'll put the glass back on. Okay, the glass is back on, and I'll just put this right on 500. The book tells me to adjust this one here. This is L5. And we'll see what it does. I can't see it being this far out. No. I had to let the antenna go a bit to, well, maybe, so I could get onto this. I'll just turn the noise off and look at the meter. Alright, that's probably it there. I'll turn the noise back on. I'll just tune to it. Wow, it's wide. It's more there, I think. I'll try tuning it with the sound on, I think. Yeah, I think that's it. This is the antenna trimmer. I'll trim this one up, but it's surprising it's so far out. Somebody's had a twiddle with it. That was pretty right. Alright, I'll leave that. Alright, now I've got to run it up to 1500, which is 200 on this, or 200 meters, and there's a little dot there. 1500 is in 5, I think. Yeah, there we go. I'll switch it back to speaker, and we'll find where it is. It's probably up there, I would think, this end. Yeah, there it is. So I need to bring it back to 200. This is the trimmer for it. I'll see if I can chase it down the dial till we get to the 200 meters or 500 kilohertz. Oop. Turn the speaker off. Alright, let's have a look at the meter. I think we're about on it there. Try that. Speaker back on. Whoa. That's it. And on my view, that's spot on 200. I'll just go back, check 600, hope it hasn't moved. And back to 600 here. That's it there. What do we got? We're right on. So I'm not going to play with that anymore. Alright, the next thing to do is long wave. So I'll push the long wave and inject a signal of 200 kilohertz. Have to program that one in. Alright, now it's got a tune in BBC2, which is 1500 meters there. So we'll call that about right. So I'll just do it by ear. I can't, the meter's not moving enough. Seems to be about there. I've got to change this to 160. Now I've got to tune that signal in, which is about 1700 on that lower scale in meters. Yeah, there it is there. And peak this one here to get the maximum signal. I think it's about, yeah, that's perfect where it was. Right, now I need 260 kilohertz, there it is there. Volume up, tune it in, and up here. Right about there. And adjust this guy here. And once again, where it was is about right, about there. The next step is to align the ferrite antenna. I've got the loop antenna here and I've put the generator up the top there. I don't think you can see it. Oh, you can just see it up the top there. I've put it on medium wave. Auto is out now. So I need to put my generator on 600. But all I need to do now is make sure this medium wave antenna is peaked on the ferrite rod. I don't think I can move it actually. No. So it's taped on. I'm going to leave it there. If that was working alright, I'll go up the other end and just trim the antenna. Up to 200 again. And we need 1500 on this. There we go. Now I've got to peak this one here. I think I'm wasting my time. Yeah, it's exactly where it should be, right there. It's the same deal for this long wave antenna, adjusted on the rod and then one of the trimmers to trim the antenna to it. I'm not going to bother with it, we don't have long wave, and the other one was okay anyway, so I'll leave it. Now this is the last step. It's the midpoint voltage and quiescent current. I'm not going to read through this. If you want to have a look, you can pause the video. I have the tone control on maximum and the sets turned off. It says to apply an audio signal from 20 Hz to 20 kHz, so I've got it on 10 kHz there. The signal's going into this point here, which is the top of the tone control. This is the link you cut and I've connected to it. I have my meter here, that's on milliamps. Right at the back here, this is the speaker outlet. I've got a dummy load of 4 ohms across it, and it also has the oscilloscope across it. So the first step is to turn it on, put it on minimum volume there. Now this is PR2, this is the bias adjustment, so I'll adjust that. We need 3 milliamps. We've got, what do we got there? 2.1, I need to go to 3. This PR2 is the one I thought was the quiescent current, so I adjusted that when it sounded a bit distorted. I'll leave that one there, it's pretty close. It'll change when I do the next bit. I need to turn the volume up high. I need to short out the link again. I've just put a very quick switch on there, so I'll short it out there. I shall adjust this. We're just looking at the oscilloscope there and trying to get it pretty smooth. Look, the signal looks pretty good. So I'm just trying to get it stable there. I would have thought it would have been distorted, but it's not. I'll leave it there. That looks good. Now I'll wind the volume down again and put my switch back. And what have we got? Yeah, it changed. So I need to drop that down. It's just a bit of to and froing to get these to do what they're supposed to do. So I'll drop it down to about 3 again. Throw my switch. Turn the volume up. It's going unstable there, so I'll come back here. That looks right about there. So once again, switch, volume down. So we've got on the meter. It's a bit high again, I'll just put it back to 3. It'll drop down a bit. Oh, that'll do. Switch again, volume on full. That looks pretty good. I've let it run for about 5 minutes. It's all stable. It's on 3. I'm calling it good enough. So let's see how it sounds. I have the radio set up for testing. Before I do it, I'll just tell you what happened. There's a footnote in the manual that says, it's important to remember when aligning circuits incorporating a ceramic filter that optimum results will not necessarily be obtained at 470 kHz. So there's a tolerance either side of 2 kHz. So what I thought I'd do is get a very weak station, just tweak the 2 IF coils to get a maximum response, not necessarily at 470. That was all going swimmingly until one of the slugs cracked and the slug jammed in the coil. So I removed the IF transformer. I tried to back drive it through the little slot on the underside of the coil. That was to no avail. The slug was stuck tight. So that was the end of that transformer. There was no way to get the slug out without destroying the coil. So I went to my local electronics shop. They sell a little kit of IF coils. Well, that one's an oscillator. There was 2 white ones, which are IF. So I put one of those in the radio. These are set at 455, so I thought hopefully it's got enough scope to get up to 470. I've installed it, it's in here and it's working. What I did was strip the coil off the base of the old IF can, and I've mounted the new one onto the base of the old one. Now this one's considerably smaller, so getting it to line up with the holes was a challenge. So that worked out pretty well. What I thought I'd do was put this over the top of the new one and solder that down, and it won't look quite as bad until you look through the hole and see it's got a different screw, but that should look alright. So it still has the 2 solder holes to suit the little plugs here. So if I put that in there, line the holes up, I can solder it on the bottom. So there's the 2 little pins sticking up there. Solder them in there. And there it is, the perfect chrome. I should have painted the white black, it would have looked much the same. Anyway, that looks pretty good. Another problem I had last night was these 2 variable resistors, and when I got close to where it wanted to be, it would jump around and I had a lot of trouble adjusting it. So I replaced them with new ones. These are new ones. So I picked them up while I was at the electronics shop as well and put them in, and it was so easy to adjust. So that's fixed that little problem as well. I have a theory as to why these tiny slugs are breaking, and I've broken a few in the last couple of radios I've done, and I think it's these ceramic screwdrivers. I think the wedge shape on them is too great, and even that way it has kind of a wedge shape. And when you push it into the bottom of the slug, it pushes on the side of the slug and breaks it off. So I think that's what it is. If it's not that, if you don't have it perfectly straight in there, it kind of tries to break it off anyway. I have some power on. I'll show you how it works, or how well it works.
In particular, we didn't have a brother who played or a parent who played.
So it sounds great.
Night and into the early hours of this morning. So he's MI at the moment. I've no doubt though he'll rejoin their celebration.
Meet and greet. For Miss Sahara, we don't have any criteria in terms of weight. Yeah.
This radio receives very well. That is a very hard station to get, as I always say, and this is picking it up with almost no static behind it. Yeah, so it works really well. It's a very good radio. As you can see, I've repaired the speaker with a bit of tea bag and some liquid electrical tape, and I've tried to maintain the little corrugations there so that it doesn't affect its springiness. I don't think there's anything else I need to do to the chassis, so I will go and get the case and we'll have a look at that. I have the handle of it sitting on my bench here, and the ends are chromed, and as you can see the chrome's just gone. Now to get those re-chromed, I'm guessing I can pull this out. I don't know how they've done it. I assume that's just pushed in the end of this extrusion. What I think I'll do is just clean all this rough chrome off and treat it, and I think I'll paint them silver or something. I can't see it. If I get it chromed, it's going to cost more than the radio. So I'll put that aside. The case itself is pretty good. The ends need to be redone. They'll come up okay. I'll take out this board with the external power supply and antenna on it. There we go. This grill has some little dents in it. They're very hard to see, but they are there, and it detracts from it a bit. So I'll take that out, I think. The front panel's held on with little bent over tabs, so I'll just straighten them up, and that should release that front panel. Alright, that should just pop out now. There it is. You can see the little dents now. I'll just try and get them out somehow, I'm not sure how, and clean up some of this, whatever it is that's stuck in the grill there. Alright, I'll take this out to my workshop and fix it up. Here's the front grille, and I've actually been giving it a bit of a tap with a hammer to see if I can get the dents out, and I think I've already done it. You really can't see any there. I just simply went along and just tapped where I could see a dent, and they just fell out. So to finish off, I'll just put a bit of timber here. This is nice and flat melamine. So, I think that's pretty good. There's some dirt on it there that needs cleaning off. I don't think they're dents. What's that? Is that a dent? There's a bit of mark there. I'll go and clean this and then do it again. This is some very soft sort of aluminium. It hasn't got any spring back, so just by flattening it, it's okay. It should stay flat and not try and spring back into a dent. I'll give that a wash and see if it looks any better. I've washed that off. I can't see any dents at all in that anymore, so I'm happy with it. What it looks like is it's got some sort of coating in the center, like a paint. So I'm wondering if I should just paint this center bit. At the top here, it's bright, and the center there is quite matte. So I wonder if it's got a matte silver on it. So I might look at re-spraying it again, perhaps, just try and bring it back. It looks a bit shabby. For the ends here, I'll just sand it off lightly and put some stain on it and put a top coat over it. I've got some 320 paper here, so that's nice and fine. That should take that top coat off. That's coming off all right, so it's got some little dents in it. I'll have to maybe fill them. Another one there. All right, I'll keep working on this and come back. It's got lots of little dents in there, so I'll use some filler on them. There's a scratch that way. Little tiny dent there. Bit more end of grain here. It's just where they've sanded it past the grain and the grain's a bit open. So I'll just fill those up. So I'll let all that dry off and I'll sand it back. While that's drying, I'm going to redo the finish on that, and I've got some paint here called aluminium, and I think it comes out fairly flat if I recall. Now the edges have got the bare aluminium, so I'll tape that up and preserve that. This is not easy. Yeah, so I was just trying to keep right on the edge. Now I've sanded that off as well, whatever finish is on there. I've given it a bit of a sand to give it a bit of grip, and I've got this aluminium paint. So I'll try and give it a nice thin coat. I don't want it to look like it's painted. Now that's showing up every dent in the place with the gloss on it. Alright, well, I'll might have to work it again. It's not too bad though. Alright, the filler's dried and I need to sand it off. So I've got actually a fairly rough sandpaper here. I don't know what it is. I think it's 240 or something. This filler's pretty hard stuff. So I'll keep sanding this off. But here's one I prepared earlier. And this one's ready to go. So if I wipe that off, I'll put some stain on it. And then a clear coat, and I'll just use some sort of satin clear coat. I think that'll look good. Alright, these are good enough to put some stain on. So I'll just wipe them off with a tack cloth. Good. I don't have a great selection of stains, but I do have this oak, not elk. I was tossing up between oak and elm. Yeah. So we'll see how this goes. This is brown, so it should be alright. Yeah, that'll look good. Yeah, that looks great. Alright, that looks absolutely amazing. It's probably not coming up in the camera because the light's shining on it, but it's a real nice deep brown. It's fantastic. Alright, I'll let that dry. I'll do the other side and then I'll have to try and come up with a top coat. Alright, the stain's been drying for about 2 hours. I've got some clear satin spray to put on here, so I'll see how that goes. Looks pretty good. So there's the other end as well. So there it is. The stain looks good, really good. Anyway, I'll let that dry. That should dry satin. I'll probably give it another coat and that'll probably do it, I reckon. That's had 2 coats, and gosh, it looks good. It looks really good. Very nice. I've removed all the paper masking from the radio, and I just want to clean up some of this vinyl or whatever it is. I'll just use a bit of hand soap here. I don't want too much, and I've got some warm water on my toothbrush. Some of the case is made of particle board. I do not want to get that wet. It'll just go to pieces if I do. And I'll just try and get the grime out of the grain in the vinyl here. Tell you what, that hand soap's hard to get off. Maybe I should have used something else. So that looks better. I'm sure when that dries it'll go back to being grey again. The little hacker badge is looking good. Alright, that's dried off, and as I said, it's come back to it, got some of the grey in there, it's lost some colour I think. I've got some leather hydrating cream, but it's mainly eucalyptus and beeswax and things like that, so it's quite a natural product. It won't hurt the vinyl, but it should give it a nice shine. That'll do. I'll let that sit for a while and give it a bit of a buff. I think it'll come up pretty good. Meanwhile, I will do the other little bits. There's not too much on it actually, it's just that and the base. Alright, I've done the bottom and the back here. I'll see how this polishes up. And there it is. It looks pretty good. Yeah, that looks good. Alright, I've got all these to do as well, and I have the back to do. I'm going to clean this. I'm not going to put any wax on it. I need to go and make a grill for this, and I've already started printing one. It's on the printer now, and it's almost done I think. So when that comes off there, I'm going to try and smooth it out and we'll fit it on the back here. I've cleaned this up and it looks pretty good, so I'm happy with that. There was some masking tape there and it's left a bit of a mark. I think that should cover up. But before I go any further, I'll have to go and try and put this grill on, so I'll go and do that. Right, here's the finished product out of the printer, and as you can see, it's got a lot of information left from the printing process. Now I need that to be smooth and look similar to what would have come out of the factory. Now this of course is not the original shape. The original shape had an egg crate sort of shape. I've just gone for the louvers because it was just going to be too hard for me to sit there trying to put in egg crates. So I will use this anyway. It looks pretty good. Now, I printed this with ABS plastic, and there's a process you can use to smooth all this out, and it's called, well, I'll call it acetone vapor. And what you do is get acetone in a vapor form to adhere to it, and then it will melt that top surface and you can smooth it out, or it should smooth itself out. Now for this process, a lot of them use a fan, put it inside a container, and just the fan circulates the acetone around. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to build a little container to do that. So I'm going to try something different. I want to sand the top off here, and I need to try and remove any of these little defects in here. Okay, that'll do. There's little marks in there still. They probably get covered up to some degree. I'll move on to the next step. For the next step, I've got a saucepan, I've got a little wire rack here and some silicone paper. I will put the grill on the silicone paper. Now I've got some acetone here. I'll just put the smallest amount in, it doesn't need much. And if I lower this in here, put a lid on top. I've put a bit of tape over the little vent on top of the lid there. I'll put this on. Just put it on fairly high. And you should be able to see the acetone boiling. There it is. So when that's pretty much gone, I'll turn it off. Don't do this on a gas hot plate. You can see there it's forming on the top of the lid, and it's also on the grill now, so it's just put a coating of the acetone all over the grill. That's been about 5 minutes, so I'm going to take the lid off. I'll take this out and just let it harden. Let the acetone, oh gosh. let the acetone dry out and that should harden up again. Alright, that's hardened off now. I'll take it out in the shed. I'll see if I can get it off this silicone paper. It should just fall off. So that looks pretty good. Feels nice. It feels like plastic. I need to clean that up a bit, but I think what I'll do, I don't want it that shiny. I will dull it off a bit. So what I thought I'll do is I'll run some 40 steel wool over it. That'll take that gloss off, give me a bit of a matte finish, and then I'll polish it back up again. Which is kind of a strange way of doing it, but I'll just take off that slight imperfection. I wonder if this would be better if it was sort of standing up like that and the acetone could run off it. Otherwise the fan idea may be better because it would actually try and move the softer acetate that's on the top there, or the softer plastic. Anyway, this has worked alright. So there it is. It's kind of back to a neutral state, I guess. I'm going to put some polish on that. I've got a bit of Carnauba wax here. I'll put that on, and that should just bring it up to a sheen and not a shine, if you like. I'll let that sit for 10 minutes or so, then I'll give it a polish. Alright, that should be dry enough now. If I give it a polish, see how it comes up. Alright, that's looking pretty good. So it's gone back to the plasticky colour I had. Well, there it is. You can still see the marks in it. As I said, the fan idea might be better, but gee, I'm not going to complain about that. Looks good. Now I was quite happy with the last grill I did, but I've printed another one and I'm going to use a fan to see what that does. I was more interested than anything. I don't think I needed to. So I've got a bowl here, which my wife doesn't know about, and I've got a little bit of paper towel. So acetone. Now don't forget, this stuff is flammable. Don't get it on you. Don't light it. Don't use gas. Keep it away from flames. Now, as I said, I've printed another grill, I've sanded it off, and I'll stick it on top of that acetone soaked paper towel. I've mounted a fan on a bit of acrylic here, and I've kept it away from the acrylic so the fan can work, of course. So it's just mounted on some little screws there. So I've got all this off YouTube. All you do is run it for about 20 minutes or so with the fan to circulate the acetone. What I found yesterday was it was just sort of sitting on top. It wasn't moving around, if you like, and you sort of got heavier spots than others. I have a little power supply here, so I'll turn it on. That's a pretty good seal around there, so it shouldn't get any fumes outside. According to YouTube videos I've seen, you leave it for about 20 minutes and come back and see how it's going. There it is. I'm going to turn this off at the wall so I don't create a spark down here. Alright, let's have a look, see if anything's happened at all. I'll lift it up so you can see on the right hand side there's the light's shining on it. It's almost brought it back to what it was before I sanded it. It looks good, but it hasn't really done what I'd hoped. Because I have the other one, which I'm happy to put in, I'm going to put this back on for, I don't know, another 20 minutes, see what happens. Alright, it's just coming up for another 20 minutes, I'll see what it looks like. I'll just lift it up again. Yeah, it looks exactly the same. Nothing's changed. Alright, this has been on for about an hour and a half in total, so it's not working by now. And yeah, look, it looks exactly the same. Nothing's changed. I'll give up. I'll let it dry. Not sure what I'll do now. This has been here for about an hour, so it's thoroughly dried out. Gee, it looks pretty good, doesn't it? It's nice. So that's probably come out better than the first one, I would say. And I don't think it made any difference leaving it in the longer time either. I think after the 20 minutes, I don't think it really changed after that. So anyway, well, I'll put that one on. I think that looks better than the other one. Alright, good. I'm going to glue this grill on here. I've put some tape around. I'm going to use super glue that appears to be successful on vinyl and plastic. I know it sticks to this. Now I realise this isn't vinyl, but it's supposed to work on any of these sorts of plastics. I don't think it's vinyl. It's probably Rexine or something. So just roughing it up with a bit of steel wool. Alright, I just blew that out with the compressor to make sure there's no steel wool remnants in there. So I think the best thing to do would be to put it on this backing. Ooh. Okay, let's hope this works. Alright, how do I get that flat? I've got a bit of board here. I'll put that on there, I think. There we go. And I'll just push down on it for, I don't know, a few minutes. Alright, that's been a minute, so I'll see what happened. Oops. The tape stuck to it. Oops. Oops, I got a bit of tape under the glue, I think. Alright, I'll have to work on getting that out, but that's okay. So anyway, that's good, that looks good. Another thing I have to repair is this PP9 battery snap, because it's snapped. I have some phenolic sheet here, I've drilled it out to match that. I found these two little clips in the box of junk that I have, so I can use those to make a new snap for it. I also have some PP batteries which I bought. What I intend doing is drilling out the existing rivet, and I've got some solder tabs here so I can rivet them back on. I'll drill the centre out of the little clip here. Hopefully that's enough to be able to peel that off. There it goes. I have these little hollow rivets. I use them to replace the valve bases on older radios where they use rivets. And hopefully that'll go in that hole. It's not. There it goes. And I'll turn that over. With a bit of luck, this little clip will fit on there. There you go. That looks pretty good. I'll drive that rivet down. I have a mandrel here for driving these rivets over. There we go. I've riveted the second stud on, and I've now got the old snap snapped to the new snap. And I will drill 2 holes there for the wires. I'll just use the old snap as a guide. There we are, 2 holes for the little wires to go through. And here's the battery. I probably should have checked this beforehand, shouldn't I? Hey, perfect. Okay. Alright, that'll work alright, and I saved myself $24. I'm going to do the handle now. I have sanded all the rust off in here, and I've treated it with rust killer, both ends of course. And I'm going to paint it with some grey primer. This is a corrosion barrier. You can actually put it over corrosion, and it'll help etch it on to the shiny chrome. So I'll give it a coat of that and let it dry for about 24 hours, and then I'll give it some top coats. That looks good. I'll hang it up, let it dry. I'll come back tomorrow and give it a top coat. This has been drying for about 24 hours, and I'm just rubbing off the paint or the undercoat with some steel wool. And it's pretty smooth, so it doesn't really need much. I'll just blow a bit of compressed air over this to get off any of the steel wool that might be there, and I'll blow off the table here as well. I'll give it a spray with this silver, and it should look good. So I'll do the other end. That's covered nicely, so I like this colour silver, it's very nice. I'm going to put some clear coat over it once this dries, give it 2 or 3 coats of that, and should have a pretty robust sort of finish on it, I hope. So when this is all done, I'll take everything inside and I'll put the radio together. I have the parts laid out, ready to put back together. I think first thing I'll do is put this grill on. I've straightened the little tang, so hopefully it'll just slot in okay. There you go. I have my finger underneath here where this tab is, and I'll use some pliers to pull it and push it over with those. If I just bend them over, there's a good chance it'll push out that grill. So same deal here, I'll push the grill in and just grab it with my pliers, then bend it down. There we go. I'll finish the rest of these. We'll come back to the next step. I'll put the external battery connector and car antenna bracket on now. Okay. And I've got the speaker mounted in there. Just do the nuts up. Alright, last thing to do is put the radio back in. There it is. I'll try and get this handle back on now without scratching the bit of painted wood there. Looks okay. This end I have the rubber in there, but I don't have the little washer. I think I'll be okay. All right. I think that's going in. Yeah, that's good. I'll just tighten this up and it should still be able to turn. Yeah, it's on little bushes. Let's do the other end as well. Put the speaker connectors back on, black on the bottom. This is the plug for the external battery supply. And this one here is the external antenna, so that should pop on there. Very nice. That's about it. I've got 2 batteries here, so I'll put those in. So I guess it goes that way. Oh yeah, that fits nice. This one goes another way, so go around there. There we go. And just the back to go on. Done. Well, there it is. It's all together. I've put the antenna at the back there. Let's see if it works. Oh, not really.
That's parochial.
Oh, hang on.
See local teams on free-to-air at 5:30 or 5 o'clock on a Sunday night.
Brisbane and Queen. Here's what's making SEN news. The northern Victorian town of Kerrang may be isolated.
Beautiful things, often in really great Art Deco designs. David Tipton has a website and a YouTube station called Dave's Radio Adventures, and he puts up videos, and enthusiasts from all over the world take part in the radio history that he loves so much. And he's with us now. Hello, David.
Hello, Sarah. How are you?
Good.
Nobody wants to listen to that guy.
Ration Rhapsody, one of the more experienced.
I'll put it back on the external antenna. I've taken the back off. I've connected the antenna straight into the radio, which is this port here. Nothing. I've done it again. I'll get it off that.
Left behind 2 links away, but called upon, and no doubt about it.
Games at great prices. You can.
Point though. Tom found the experience of being an adult beginner so challenging and interesting, he thought, why not?
It's pretty good.
How'd you get into this?
It goes on again.
Well, I don't know. I always had an interest in them. When I was about 10 or 11, I tried to build a radio out in my dad's workshop, and he had a biscuit tin full of parts, so I tried to put a radio together, but he just laughed at me.
Yeah.
But I always liked looking at them from the back. I'd look at the glow and the cans upside down and just wondered how they worked.
And then you worked it out.
Boring.
Plenty forward here for Manchester United.
Bold ambition to eliminate family.
So it works well. Long wave. Of course, we don't have long wave, but there should be some beacons up here somewhere. Nav beacons. There we are. So the long wave is working. Yeah. So there it is. It's a Hacker Autocrat Mark II RP73. I assume the Autocrat part is to do with putting it in your car. I don't know. Now the grill came up great. I am looking at all angles. I can't see any dents at all. I know they're there, but I can't see them. Anyway, so that's come up good. The timber on the side came out really nice. That cleaned up very well. So overall, looks good. I've disconnected that aerial. I'll put the back on. There you go. And the grill looks good. That looks perfectly normal. I'm very happy with the way this has come out. I'm not a genius on transistor sets, so this didn't give me too much grief. So it's worked all right. I do prefer valve equipment. I'm too ham-fisted on these little things. I keep breaking bits off. Anyway, I had a lot of fun doing this. There's a few little tricks I picked up on the way. So I hope you enjoyed watching it, and I hope you can join me for my next radio adventure.